Good afternoon. This is the session number 6. I'm Kwon Wontae. Good afternoon. Right beside me, I have two renowned scholars who are expert in geology and earth science. First up, I have Professor Sangmook from the Seoul National University, and his major is oceanic geology. He graduated from Seoul National University. He got the PhD in MIT. He continued his research in the US, and later he came back to Korea, and he was working for Oceanic Institute, and now he's working as a professor of SNU. And please understand that he has some physical challenges. There was an accident while he was doing his research. Still, he is continuing his research. I would like to deliver my sincere respect to him. I admire him sincerely, and Professor Sangmook Lee is going to tell us about the key topic that we are discussing, the relations between the earth and people. So, in the earlier part of this forum, we talked about usually from the humanity lens, but now from the natural science perspective, we're gonna discuss how to interpret the relations between human and the earth. First up, Professor Sangmook Lee is going to tell us about our relations between us and the earth. He's going to cover the long history of the earth. On my left, I have Professor Kim Baekmin from Bukyong National University, College of the Environment and Marine Science. And he got a doctor's degree in Seoul National University, and his major is meteorology. And also, he is the editor for the Korean Society of the Meteorology, and he used to work for the research center located in Arctic. He is publishing his book in every 3 to 4 year interval. He has written many books about climate change, and he's going to tell us more about climate change. First up, we can listen to Dr. Lee's presentation.
Let me begin. Thank you very much. My name is Professor Sangmook. Today I'd like to talk about mid-ocean ridge, and this used to be my major in my PhD. One of the characteristics of mid-ocean ridge is the ocean, although the Earth age is 4.5 billion years old. However, the bottom of the sea is smooth. They are less than 200 million. So it's like if let's say that your age is 45, however your skin age is like 2 years old. So it's like rejuvenating. My title of this presentation is like cosmetics promotional campaign, rejuvenation. Last year, I gave presentation about IT. However, I went back to my own major, which I used to study in my PhD. In the middle of the mid-ocean ridge, that you can see the sim surrounding the baseball. There are this long ridge about the length twice as long as Earth width. So from the plates, they are gathered and separated like the sim of baseball. However, these plates are combined and separated. However, unlike the spaceball, this valley and plates, or some of the plates are high and some of the plates are low. And this is a recent new discovery, because it was known only in 1960s. These are the lower parts happening. It's not happening only in the ocean. It is happening on the surface. Only the fact is that surface is covered by water. So if you think that this is the surface, but it's only covered by water, it's quite interesting. In the US, I had a chance to go to the ocean to study mid-ocean ridge. I came back to Korea in 1986. And I was the only one who was focusing on study like this. So I made a big trend. Ministry Ocean The Ministry Ocean explore the Madagascar in Indian Ocean. And they also videotape the mid-reach. However, about 25 years ago, that story was only possible overseas. However, the Ministry of Ocean invests about tens of billions of won to invest. So I was the first one who started such project. And these achievements is somewhat thanks to my effort. And this kind of exploration requires a big vessel. However, the special vessel requires 30 million to 50 million won. So this is very expensive. Per month, it costs about 1 billion won. And since advanced countries are leading the research, Korea also followed the research. You see this vessel? The first one was made and the second one was produced again. And the third one was produced. So Korea is now enjoying that we have too many vessels. In the geoscience, I made a big contribution. In 2014, after the Seoul vessel incident, at the national auditing, that I argue that government is not doing its role. I argued that this expensive vessel should be tapped by the researchers like us. So the government legislated an act allowing co-research, not only the government but also the academical side. And as a citizen of the nation, I realized that the sovereignty is given to the citizens. So I told them that if the vessel is given to me or to university, that I will explore the world with my students. And this is the third part that our vessel, Korean vessel, visits there every year. And we conducted research on the mid-reach. In the 1980s, the U.S. pioneered the related research and also the advanced countries. So they came up with Project Reach, and they started coordinating their research by forming InterReach. When InterReach was formed, I was a graduate student, and now I am the chair, and by inviting the steering committee, I am the king of the king now. Due to COVID-19, the researchers are refraining from meeting each other. In the past, we used to meet at luxurious places. However, we are meeting online every month to share our research results. Next week, Professor Park at Seoul National University will chair the webinar. So Earth Science, Life Science, and Our Future are three main agenda of our research. Academically, we are embracing biology and earth science to talk about our future, but we are more focusing on our studies. Since 2016, I've been chairing IUGG Korea. So IUGG is a platform where geoengineers and also geoscientists are gathering. International Science Council is there. However, IUGG has longer history. And this organization holds meetings every 4 years, which will take place next year in Berlin. And this encompasses 8 disciplines in science. So it's about the polar areas and also universe, atmosphere, marine physics, earthquake, volcanoes. So our discussions encompasses wide varieties, and this organization under UN is a representative area. And this organization has been become a corporate, has been entitled to become a corporate thanks to Minister Kang's support. Another commission is mathematical physician, and this event takes place every 2 years, and Korea was lucky to host it. If things go well, I am working to host the IUGG in Jeju Island. I will promote it in Berlin next year. So KTO calculated that 6.6 billion direct impact and the indirect impact of 24 billion won. And these are the pictures and the images of Earth and Moon. You see Mercury, Mars. Mars is full of gas. No, Mercury is it's covered with gas. And this is the relative size. Venus has a similar size to Earth, and Mars is next to Earth. Can I have some water, please? And for example, and this is the picture image of Venus without water. And in real, it doesn't look like this because the Venus surface is too high. I see Earth this way. There is core and mantle and materials are coming up, and every time when volcano goes up and magma goes up, vapor, large amount of vapor comes out that creates water, and this vapor creates atmosphere. So it's a vast system. Of course, sometimes exterior planet or comets come into the Earth. However, this is the picture that I interpret when I think of our planet. I see things the deep inside of the Earth. Something comes from the deep Earth. So this is the surface, the side image of the Earth. So this is the inner core, and you see that the outer core, lower mantle and upper mantle. When the plate is created, it operates. As much as the plates are created, they are also diminished. However, the Earth size doesn't change. So the plates goes up, and between the mantle and core, the plates are accumulated. And if the accumulation goes too high, from the inner core, the plates by the other cores, the volcanoes are created, and the oceanic mantles are created. But sometimes it goes up in form of plume. But unlike this, the normal, it's unlike this normal convection. Therefore, I describe it as like Earth vomiting. So, from the birth of the Earth for a long time, these force works in relation. So these are the history of Earth formation, onton and plateau and traps and volcanic margin. Although we are not sure, in the past there was massive size of volcano, and in that time the CO2 and other materials are sprayed into the atmosphere. The reason I'm so interested in is because to discuss relationship, this kind of phenomenon, and also the current level of CO2. Since we didn't live in the past, we don't know how much CO2 this kind of movement created. However, if we examine by layer, then we see that, like a conveyor belt, that this plate cannot produce continuously. So some parts are going up and some parts are going in. So this ocean plates are created. The oceanic crust is created and accumulated for certain hours, and suddenly it erupts. So Earth is working like a conveyor belt, but at the same time, it's like it's like as if somebody is vomiting because the flume is coming up. So every time this kind of things go erupt for millions of years, the CO2 level changes, and also the earth must have regulated the level. Every time I often say this, the earth is working fine. Only problem is we human beings. We are trying to control the earth. Korean researchers study a lot about West Pacific. One of the area is Ontong Java Plateau. You see this accumulation, and this plate, this crust is too thick. You see the left image. Before we happen to know all the knowledge that I shared with you, the great changes, important changes in the earth happened in the ocean. It's too dark in the ocean. So we created sound wave. So by using this technology that we are investigating the ocean floor, and we created, the Columbia University created this image after finding out the ocean floor is not flat. So you see these plates. This crust is created as if the left and the right side is turning on and off, and they're adjusting. I use the term rejuvenation. So this red part is 0 years old. So this side is spread out, and they sometimes push continent, and it goes inside the Pacific Ocean, and it goes down to mantle. So 60-70% of the ocean, and this part, red part, is 1, and this part is less than. In the ocean, all parts are less than 200 million years old. However, the land is quite old. So land is accumulation. Ocean works like the conveyor belt, but with the accumulation, the ocean keeps vomiting, and the waste is stuck on the land. So we are living on the wasteland or landfill, the waste thrown away from the ocean. That's how I see. We're all living in a garbage bin. The real new house can be found in the ocean. So, like I told you, the continents and the ocean has different formation. So the land is accumulation, like the landfill. We are living in the chunk of waste. That is why there is big crust. People ask me why I go to the ocean. I tell them that the ocean has the records of change of 180 million of Earth's history, and the ocean has it one by one, layer by layer. I tell them that we have the history of 180 million years old. 180 million means 5% of total age of Earth. So based on the research of 5%, that we can suspect what has happened of the rest of the Earth. That is why I'm studying ocean. If you look at the ocean, then you see different geography, and some parts are quite heavy. And since they are heavy, they are not seen outside. Since we don't know what's happening in the ocean, that we're making all the fuss as if we know everything. So with the advancement of technologies, we happen to find out that there is ridge in the middle, and also the magma has its own room. When we discovered, we were shocked. We thought that the size should be thousands of kilometers, but it was smaller than we thought. It's because the ocean water comes in and continuously cools it. That is why magma didn't grow well. After 1980s, when I was studying at the graduate school, the computer started being used. So this computer technology has allowed us to see the dimension into three-dimensional structure. So exploring the ocean has become the trend in geoengineering. And luckily, I was studying in the US. Then what is this image? Do you know what it is? This is Kuiper's. This looks like a U or V shape. It's like a backward U shape. If you go inside, if you walk into the middle, that you see the sea bottom, and as if you are walking into the mantle. And this part, this green and the light violet is mantle. So we went there and see. So we were disappointed because this didn't look like a proper mantle because it was weathered. So when we study ocean, that we don't have to go into the ocean all the time. Sometimes, although it's a rare, that you can find the geography that is lifted to the land. This topography, we can, although rarely, we can find this kind of topography. If there is magma, it means that the water can stream inside, and when the water is boiled, the vapor goes up, and it becomes, the acidity level goes up, and it affects the metals around that area. So, depending on the level or depending on the places that you see, the temperatures are different. And you see the hydrothermal fluid temperature is 360, but seawater is 2 Celsius. And you see this acidity for the hydrothermal fluid, it's 3.35, and seawater is 7.8. There are so many metallic particles. That is why this place is so dark. And as long as we can cover the lid, then we will explore wonderful metallic particles. And one famous area is Iberian. And you see this dark area. This dark area is home of copper, nickel, and this lead, and all these metallic elements can be found. And with sediments accumulated, that this produces so much metallic elements. So this country is known for mining. So iron, And you see this topography was revealed. Although the reality looks like this, since the ocean is too dark, we had to combine different images. So chemicals are combined, and thanks to the chemicals, mussels and the shells eat them. And also there are thermophiles living in the ocean. Most of the species should be able to live under 100. However, these species can survive in the water over 90, 100 Celsius. So 38 is too cold for them. So based on this knowledge that we have excavated new discoveries, if you go to Yellowstone, then you see this image. This kind of shape can be also found if you go deeper, 70, 80,000 kilometers deeper. So we assume that if there is water or volcano or thermal in other planets, there must be other living species. For 4.5 billion years, Earth has produced over 4,500 minerals. If you go to the moon or Mars, that you will find less than 350 types of mineral. So if there were no thermal activities, or if we were born in in other planet, then there will be no rare earth kind of elements. So because of that, since the rare earth materials are not found, that it means that we can't use our mobile phone. For 4.5 billion years, that we have seen the electronics transmitting. So with the oxidization that we were able to recharge the battery named Earth. We have increased the energy of the Earth. After Industrial Revolution, that we have accumulated energy, and if we have used it all, then what would be left? The Industrial Revolution occurred only 250 years ago. If we continue this trend, that we will not be able to use them anymore in 100 years. That it means we have to go back to 4.5 billion years. For fun, a person, came up with Drake equation. Somebody came up with the percentage that the alien living forces and that we can communicate. You see big number starts in the beginning. So the planet, also the distance between the planet and the sun, and the last part is the intelligence or high civilization that can communicate with the external factors. And then that comes down to Earth. So this figure is 400 divided by 4.6 billion. So the number came down to 1. ET didn't contact us, it's because maybe we are the only ones living in the universe. So if that is true, if this hypothesis is true, then by using our technology, let's not kill each other. So we will survive, we have to survive, and we spread our humanity. This is not the obligation, or it's not only the rights written on our constitution, but it should be our universal mandate for us to survive. Last but not least, geoscience receives a lot of subsidiaries, especially in the study of atmosphere. However, for the first time, our research center at our university is entitled to the subsidy about mantle and crust. And for the first time, we received the subsidy. So we will tap into the opportunity given to us. Thank you. Well, I think that the session had so quick, and this time we were supposed to discuss IUGG cooperation, and I think the Professor Lee, Interreach, and IUGG is doing a pivotal role in understanding Earth better, about the crust and the ocean and atmosphere, and also the volcanic activities. I was told that there are 8 different science groups are taking part in the study. I think the participants here will be able to learn that the universe is vast and we are destined to colonize the universe, which gives us a bigger ambition.
Let me move on to the next speaker. Professor Kim Baekmin from Bukyong University will make a presentation. Professor Kim Baekmin's title is The 6-Degree Extinction, 2-Degree Hope. That's the topic that he has. Good afternoon, I am Kim Baekmin. Not much time is given to me. Let me make it simple and clear. Professor Lee, thank you very much for the wonderful presentation. That was really impressive. And as you said at the end of your presentation, it is high time for us to recharge the battery. We have definitely limited resources. Human being is a small creature, and in the past, however much resource we may use, it was not possible to consume up all the resources on the earth. However, now the humans become strong species that can control the future of the earth, and we are using too much resources. With this trend, we are going to deplete all the resources in the earth. Not just because of the climate crisis, we may not be able to live on the earth. So today, the key message is this one: how to overcome the climate crisis. That is the first question. Whenever I get the question, I always tell you, carbon reduction is necessary. Yes, CO2 reduction is a must, because we have to reduce the CO2 we emit. But that's not the end. The government policy has carbon neutrality 2050. Carbon neutrality has become a cliche, and many people think carbon reduction can be everything, and after the carbon reduction, everything will be gone. However, in addition to carbon reduction, we've got to do something more. We've got to adapt to climate changes, that adaptation can be one of the keywords. Last but not least, as Professor Lee said, we should have a recovery. That's a new keyword because we used up so much resources. We are now talking about carbon reduction, even though we achieve a certain level of carbon reduction. Without recovery, our lives might not be sustainable. I'm a researcher who is studying Arctic area, Antarctica and Arctic area. You can see the photo that I took just about 10 years ago. At the background, you can see a kind of a river. That's not a river. That was a frozen area. Everything was frozen. The mountain was fully covered with snow. It was the photo that I took just about 10 years ago. I watched a TV documentary, and according to the documentary, that was really shocking. You cannot tell whether you are in the swamp area or whether you are in the Arctic area. Things have changed, especially so fast in Arctic areas. The Arctic area is changing 4 times more rapidly than where we are living in. It becomes hotter and hotter, and we are losing the glacier. Is it natural that the climate is changing? What do you think? Is it natural? Yes, it is. We talk about climate change, however, sometimes people misunderstand that it is wrong that when the climate is changing. In the past, the people believed that climate change is natural. As Professor Lee mentioned, the Earth is moving. However, it is changing the climate really slowly. Sometimes it takes hundreds of millions of years, sometimes tens of millions of years to have the ice melt. However, humans living just about 100 years cannot actually feel tangibly the climate is changing. However, we can see the climate is changing in every 10 years. Climate change is natural. As you can see, the guy standing on the photo might not look like me, who I am, in front of you. Things are changing. However, what matters is the speed of change. Climate change is natural, but the trend and speed is so rapid and so fast. And how much change do we have? Yes, you can see this graph. After the Industrial Revolution, you can see how much temperature change was made on the Earth. After the Industrial Revolution, 1 degree Celsius temperature increase was made. Since 1860 to 2020, 1 degree Celsius. Before the Industrial Revolution, the temperature was 13.8. However, right now we are close to 15 degrees Celsius. As an Earth scientist, what is really amazing is this one. And I'm so impressed to be invited to the forum of the People for Earth. I can find Earth is similar to people because Earth has its temperature just like every human has a human body temperature. Our body temperature is 36.5. Just like this, the Earth's temperature was 13.6 and now it's close to 15. When you have a body temperature going up by 1 degree, what happens? You have seen that from COVID-19. And your body temperature is 37, you cannot have access to the cafe or theater. You cannot do it. However, right now, there is a 1 degree Celsius increase. If there is a 2 degree, 3 degree increase, then what happens? What happens to your body? If your body temperature reaches 40, you should go to hospital, emergency center. The same goes to the Earth. If we have the 3 degree increase, it can be dangerous. So, the temperature is rising so rapidly. Can you play the video clip? So, as you can see, the glacier in Arctic area is melting down so rapidly. You may think the ice is fully frozen. However, starting from 1850, the ice on Arctic area has become softer before they melt. And in the year after 2000, now things are melting really rapidly. Starting from 2007, you can see the melting speed is really rapid. And they are melting out between the Iceland and Greenland after 2007. This is the Arctic area that you imagine. They are so soft, the ice is so soft. By the year of 2030 or the 2040, you can see the ice are melting down. Even though we have a rapid progress of the climate change, sometimes people deny it, but some people still call that as a climate crisis. Climate crisis does not mean the temperature will go up, there will be desertification, sometimes there will be heat wave, plus more wildfire. And there can be significant consequences to you after the climate crisis. Have you ever heard about the cold wave in Arctic area? That's my major area. Cold wave in Arctic area seems like ironic, but the wind is changing and cold air is going into the northern area and the air can come down to many other areas. So climate change is not just about temperature rise. There can be various forms of the threat as you can see on the screen. We heard about climate change so much. To some people, it has become a cliche. Every year, we are suffering from the disasters and we feel climate change is real and dangerous. Still, some people still say climate change is a fraud. And let me tell you why they think climate change is a fraud. And let me tell you why their belief and assumption is wrong. When you go to bookstore, there are many books like this. Don't be cheated by climate change. So, climate skeptics are writing books. And this book is called Inconvenient Fact. It's a kind of the mockery against the Al Gore, against the inconvenient truth. And as you know, Al Gore became the Nobel Prize laureate as an advocate for the climate change. However, there are many books going against climate change. Some people can be trapped in these wrong ideas. And now let me tell you why they are wrong. This is unconvincing evidence. The temperature is going up. As I told you, on the left side, you can see the ppm level of CO2. The blue level is clearly showing when the temperature is increasing. The level of CO2 is increasing in tandem. From 280, we have around 420 ppm CO2 concentration. That means the Earth's climate can be fluctuating, but mainly because of the CO2, the temperature would go up. For the last 200 years, we can see the clear relations between the level of CO2 and temperature. And after taking a look at this, how can you argue that human actions are not the cause for temperature rise? But the skeptics say, in the past there was a ice age. This is the ice age, which was about 1 billion years ago. Yes, that's a fact. Even without human, there was an ice age. This is the Earth about 60 million years ago. A crocodile was living on Arctic area. At that time, the CO2 level was around 3,000 ppm. The concentration level was 10 times higher than now. And at the time, the temperature of the Earth was around 30 degrees Celsius. So, in some areas, there were no creatures living. That is why on the Arctic area, many of the creatures were living. Our temperature has been changing like this, and there has been significant changes in temperature and climate. The climate skeptics quote this kind of fact. Yes, this is a fact. In the medieval age, there were some warmer periods. And when the Viking was sailing, yes, at the time Greenland was really warm. And they quote this temperature, and there were some warmer periods. Industrialization and human activities are not that important, but this is not a fact. The medieval age is only about the European region. This is not a representing data for the Earth's temperature. It was warm in Europe at the time. The Earth average was much lower. So right now, the Earth is much warmer than the medieval age. In the past, yes, as I told you, there were cold period and really hot period during the history of the Earth. But what matters is the speed of changes. We call this era as the Anthropocene, which means new geological changes can be made. And right now, we have a high level of CO2 concentration. As you can see here, compared to the CO2 increase for the last 8,000 years, right now we have a much bigger CO2 level increase for the last 200 years, which means compared to the past, the temperature has gone up significantly. This is a fact. Again, what matters is the speed of the change. After the industrialization for the last 150 years, the temperature went up by 1 degree Celsius. However, in the past, the temperature change was 20 degrees Celsius for the last 100 million years. With a simple calculation, you can clearly see currently this phase is too fast. And if that's the trend, just in about hundreds and millions of years, the temperature would go up to 100 degrees Celsius. So Again, what matters is the speed of change. The human beings are changing the earth so fast. That's a hidden fact. For the last 100 years, there was a 1 degree Celsius increase. This is unprecedented. And even with that, there are still the skeptics. That's why we need science. We should clearly tell how CO2 level increase can contribute to temperature increase. We can have a computer simulation, as you can see like this. The greenhouse effect can be simulated with a supercomputer. We can calculate the effect coming from greenhouse effect. With this kind of small grid model, we can calculate the warming effect. We have water, cloud, ground, air, everything. When they are interacting together, and we can make a very complex equation, and supercomputer can calculate when the CO2 is injected, how the earth will become warmer. And we've been doing that, and many other meteorological scientists are doing that. The IPCC report is the outcome of that kind of simulations, which have been done by hundreds and thousands of scientists. They studied whether CO2 can have impact on the temperature. The simulation and observation tell us. The round one in 1990 and the second round in 1995, and right now we have the sixth report. So it is clear the humans are the culprit for climate change. The sixth report clearly mentions that the humans are the criminals. That is the outcome of collective wisdom, collective knowledge. So again, the scientists have been studying a lot on this, and now we have a clear evidence. This is an evidence that is much more correct compared to a simple argument. Let me tell you one more thing. There are skeptics and there are other people who argue that the humankind will go into extinction. So there are two extremes, the skeptics and the advocate for extinction. So there are another way of the pessimism that we may become extinct anyway. You can see the level of CO2 emission, whatever we may do. The CO2 emission has never been decreasing. So people say we cannot stop this climate crisis. There are books like this, 6 degree scenario and everybody will go extinct. Many people are skeptical because we are going to get into extinction anyway. But what I want to tell you is this. The temperature will not go up by 6 degrees Celsius. There are various levels of the scenarios, and according to the scenario, with a reasonable estimation, 2 to 4 degree Celsius scenarios are most reasonable, and there will not be 6 degree Celsius increase. I think that's an exaggeration simply. We have 1 degree already, and we are expecting the 2 degree Celsius increase. That can be a challenging task, but if we make efforts, I believe the humankind as a whole can stop the increase by 2 degrees Celsius. And let me skip the scenario. Then what should we do? What is the choice of the humankind? Kaya, a Japanese scientist, came up with the factors that can determine the CO2 concentration. population increase. People consume carbon, so the more population you have, the more CO2 you're gonna emit. GDP level. The wealthier you are, the more carbon you consume. Energy efficiency can be another factor. If you are driving a car which can have a higher mileage, then you consume less carbon. Also, carbon footprint is really important. These are the four important factors. We cannot control the number of population. We cannot do it. That is not possible. So, this is something that we should accept. The second one, GDP. People want to become rich. People want to flourish. So we cannot control this one. So what we can control is energy efficiency and reduce our carbon footprint. So we should change the 50 billion into 0. That's why we came up with carbon neutrality 2050. The core idea is what comes first. Energy is the top priority. How effectively we can use the energy is really important. How less carbon we are going to use in energy production can be a critical factor. Whether you like it or not, we are living in the era of energy transition. We are beyond the fossil fuel. Now we have a new civilization. In the era of fossil fuel, energy was changing the climate. However, with the climate, we can create and generate energy with solar power and wind power. ETS, battery, hydrogen, photovoltaic, all those things should be combined in response to this crisis. However, as I told you, carbon reduction is not everything. It will pose another challenge. Food challenge can be another challenge that we are facing right now. Even though we are changing the mountain and even though we place lots of the photovoltaic panels, it is damaging the nature once again. And from the adaptation perspective, there can be negative consequences like this. In the movie Interstellar, the humankind gave up the Earth because of serious food shortage. So, not only carbon neutrality, but also mitigation and adaptation, they are also very important. So, once again, mitigation and adaptation should go hand in hand. And we should be vigilant about what are going on. We should recover the resources. When we have a big urbanized city, we have another small city that is supporting that city. And in that case, that kind of urban development might not be sustainable. So we should give a healthy Earth to our next generation. This is the photo from the middle school student who won in the climate trial in 2016. That's it from me. Thank you very much. I'm so sorry that the time was limited because we have limited time resources. Maybe next time. Yes, I have another opportunity. He's willing to come again. Yes, that's very good. I read IPCC report. What was most impressive is the expression healthy Earth. Healthy Earth is what is most necessary to respond to climate change. They are pointing out something that we are missing. And as you said, what matters is the time. We talked about the 45 billion years, a few hundred years. We talked about various time span and various time scale. But what matters to us is today, tomorrow, after a year, after 10 years. That's the immediate concern. So, we should think about how to plug the gap and how we can make the earth healthier. And whenever I'm doing this, the scientific information is really, really important. And if not us, who are going to tell you about this importance based on the exact information? We should make informed decisions, especially for our future. However, in the past, we were not making informed decisions so far. So, IUGG and many other experts in and outside of Korea should contribute more with better and more accurate information, and those knowledge and information should be shared with the general public. That's it from me. There's a question.
I don't have to be featured on the screen. Okay. We're privileged to have experts who are studying geoengineering and geoscience. When we are dealing with the climate change, that we talk a lot about risks, but I want to ask, really, the Earth is at risk. I'd like to start with Professor Lee. To the universe, to the Earth, it's not, the Earth doesn't find it as a risk because the human activities are happening only on the surface. From the history of Earth, big planet hit Earth, which resulted in the extinction of dinosaurs. So I don't think it's a real risk. And the current time is not the real risk to humans. The human beings have lives, and when we're dead, then we're dead. However, one thing to note is that the Earth has created the condition for us to thrive. It's difficult to find a condition like this since we have gave birth to the civilization that we have accumulated so far. That is the risk. Our awareness, our consciousness is at risk. Yes, we will die one day. Don't link it to your own life. When it comes to AI, people personalize things. Will it affect my job? We need to go beyond that. One hope is that we have accumulated with efforts. So I have the hope, and I believe that the Earth will not be gone one day.
I think a little bit differently. Fundamentally, what humans have done to the Earth will not be a problem to the Earth? Yes, I agree. The Earth will withstand that. However, when we are not recovering, if we simply rely on the Earth and if we still consume the resources from the Earth, and if there are wars, just like the war between Ukraine and Russia, and there might be a nuclear warfare. Anyway, what I'm telling you is, we are living on the Earth, but we have power to change the Earth. It's high time we should recognize how powerful we are. In the future, there were some planets that have water and similar to the Earth. However, because of the evaporation, all the waters are gone in that planet. And the planet that we are living in seems like very stable. However, when there is a non-linear effect, we might be like the case of the Venus eventually. In the past, we did not have enough power. However, as we are overcoming the climate crisis, if we can focus more on the recovery, we can make some changes. If not, there will be more changes and there will be more damage to the earth. So, again, we are so powerful we can change the earth in a positive or negative way. That's my thought.
We have different opinions. I don't think that their opinions, two gentlemen's opinions are on the same page. From my opinion, I don't think we can call the current situation as a threat to Earth. But the life forms are threatened, I think. As it was pointed out that the climate issues are related to life forms, but the climate system should be kept healthy for the humankind to create its own civilization, new civilization, for us to create the ground to colonize the universe. And to the Madam Kang's question that we'd like to conclude here. And I wonder if the online participants would like to ask additional questions. Can I ask a question? Actually, it's more like a comment. There are naysayers or people who don't believe or who don't have firm belief. Jonathan Haidt is a U.S. society psychologist. In 2010, smartphone became famous and also the social media became famous. According to the U.S. research, two sectors were analyzed to be affected, and the two sectors were deteriorated in terms of moral and ethics due to social media. Boys play games, but girls in their puberty were affected due to social media because they see other friends uploading good images. Like publication of articles that we engage in debates, when the results are open, then we respected the idea. However, on social media, if you have a wrong idea or if you have a different idea, then you will be literally crushed by other people who don't believe the same belief. Oh, yes, Earth is a risk. But many people point out that Zuckerberg is the issue. He is the problem. All the policy agenda are up, and then because of Mark Zuckerberg, because of the product that he created, that things are doubted on social media. Mobile phones have great advantage, but at the same time, especially the phone affects the teenagers, especially girls. Maybe we should do something with Zuckerberg. We gotta do something with him.
That's a new suggestion. And for this issue, in this session, we've been talking about the issue between people and Earth from natural science perspective. But we cannot view this issue simply from the scientific lens only. Whether be it climate change or transforming the world we are living in, we should have a holistic approach and we should have interdisciplinary approach across the scholars and among the stakeholders, I mean citizens, private sector, and the government. The interaction and communication among all the stakeholders are critically important. And Professor Kim, any last comment? Very briefly. And I listened to what Professor Lee said. The scientists should not be kept within the ivory tower. We cannot stop Mark Zuckerberg. So scientists should have some more active communication with the public so that we can help them build the right opinion. And that's something that I really want to do. I sincerely hope the two professors have more engagement with the general public. Thank you very much for your participation, and I'd like to conclude the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Over the last 2 days that we discussed various subjects, People for Earth have engaged in various discussions to embrace life forms, human and non-human coexistence, and also for co-prosperity. People for Earth is a knowledge and intelligence group that we have been contemplating the coexistence and prosperity of all life forms. For this conference, we also talked about ESG. We had fruitful discussions over the last 2 days. At the opening session, we had privilege to have Mr. Kim Sang-yeop. He is the commission head of the Decarbonization Green Growth Committee. And also we had the coordinator of the UN Harmony with Nature program, Ms. Sanchez. And we also were privileged to have Professor Taka and Professor Korten. We talked about how we can achieve sustainable ecology. And in session 2, we talked about the roles and the tasks of the era, and especially the role of businesses in terms of ESG. We had Professor Cho Young-tak and also the Miss Kim Hee from POSCO. And also we had lawyer Ms. IUGG and Mr. Ji Dong-hun. Mr. Cho Young-tak, the professor of Hanbad University, shared suggestions for better policy agenda of Korea. In session 3, we talked about jurisprudence, Earth's jurisprudence. Unfortunately, Professor Ito couldn't join us. However, we were able to listen to her opinions through her article. And also we had Professor Burden and also Professor Park Shi-won shared examples in the process of fighting for rights.
그리고 바로 오늘
And today,
이틀째
on the second day, in the morning session,
기후체제의 생명 철학과
our theme was Life Philosophy of the New Climate Regime.
베르그송 생명 철학을 전공하시는 황수영 교수님께서
Professor Hwang Soo-young,
개념과
who studied Bergson, shared
심홍동의 개체화에
the
관련된
objectification
좀 다소 어렵지만
of
아주
Simangdong. Although the concept, the teaching was a little bit difficult, but it was a very informative session. And Professor
또 논의를 해주셨습니다.
and also Mr. Choi Seok-hyun shared his study results. And in session 5, we talked about life security.
그 논의를 했던 새로운 거버넌스 체제와 바이오크라시라고
We talked about biocracy
새로운 정치 생태학적 접근
and a new political ecological approach.
교수님 그리고 달비 교수님
We invited Professor Everts and Professor Dalby and also the researcher, Mr. Kim Jun-soo.
IUGG 협력 섹션에서
And last but not least, in the IUGG cooperation session
우리가 모색하는 과정에서
that we sought
서울대학교
approach through academic solidarity with international community, we were privileged to have the chair of Korea IUGG and also the professor at Seoul National University, Mr. Lee Sangmook.
시스템 과학부의 교수로 계신
And last but not least, we had Professor Kim Baekmin of Bukyong University, that he talked about the hope in the current era.
이번 그 컨퍼런스가 밑거름이 돼서
Based on this conference,
또 다뤄나가겠습니다.
I look forward to continuous engagement in discussions covering various issues, and especially this year's conference was able to reflect the voices of the industry and academia. So we covered the theory and also the reality.
그리고 어저께 사실은 또 문화예술 차원에서
As a part of cultural
무브라고 하는 주제로 우리
performance, that we had a great performance
예술 표현을 좀 보여주셨고요.
by the group Move.
우리 1층에서는
And on the first floor in this building, that we are having an exhibition.
젊은 세대들의 어떤 활동들 그래서
Tomorrow, we will move our focus to the youth. We will talk about international solidarity with full of energy and full of interesting sessions.
여하튼 어제 오늘 긴 시간 동안
Following yesterday and until today, that we have had amazing discussions and engagement, not only from the ladies and gentlemen in this building, in this site, but also from online. We were able to seek solutions, and I wish this message takes a fruitful results. Thank you.